Good morning. Welcome to First Mover, your first global look at today's action in the Bitcoin, blockchain, and digital asset space. I'm your host, Christine Lee, and joining me now are my co-hosts, CoinDesk Managing Editor of Global Capital Markets, Lewitinn, and Managing Director of International Content, Emily Parker. Good morning, you two.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you all. Have a restful weekend?
Obviously.
Yeah, long weekend.
Good. Well, checking in on Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now is pretty steady. It's trading at 58,054 right now. It's up about 0.3% over the past 24 hours. And the ETX Ether price right now trading at just above $2,000, 2065. It's down about 0.2% over the past 24 hours, according to TradeBlock data, the most reliable reference price for institutions since 2014, with billions in assets under management benchmarked against it. And looking at today's top stories, so we actually have some big news from GBTC. They're saying that they are fully committed to converting GBTC into the Grayscale investment, GBTC into an ETF. We also have MicroStrategy saying that they just bought another $15 million worth of Bitcoin. So, Lawrence, what's going on with the markets?
Let's be clear. So, by the way, Grayscale, of course, owned by Digital DCG, our parent company. They, as they noted in their blog post, they first applied to go with an ETF back in 2016. So it's been 5 years. So that they've been aiming for this, basically. So this really isn't surprising, of course, but it is still one of the biggest Bitcoin-related exchange traded products out there, which it's not an ETF, but of course that's, if they convert to an ETF, they're ready to go. That's a big market player there. But why the shades? The big news is the altcoins. They all rallied because Ether hit an all-time high. It was just under 2145 because Visa said last week that they would use ETH to process USDC payments. So you're seeing a whole bunch of ETH, a whole bunch of alts up. So you have Tron is up 14%, Orchid 34%, XRP is recouped all the losses that it was hit with back when the SEC filed its lawsuit in December. So it's now above 70 cents. It's up 17%. OMG 17%, Stellar 11%, Bitcoin Cash 10%. These are all alts. They're all up. People are starting to look beyond Bitcoin into what is cryptocurrency. Mark Cuban said that Ethereum is the real cryptocurrency. So that the market's expanding rapidly. The future's getting so bright. I have to wear shades.
Is that why you're wearing shades? I was just about to ask you what's going on.
Yeah. But just to be sure, South Florida had no effect on me whatsoever. I just want to be clear.
Okay. Fair enough. Emily, also, what news have you been hearing? We had some big news over the holiday weekend about Coinbase.
Yeah, so this is huge news in the crypto world. It happened a few days ago, but still is worth mentioning again. So Coinbase is going to begin the public trading of its stock, Coin, on April 14th. And this is a moment that the crypto world has really been waiting for. This makes Coinbase valued at $100 billion. That's more valuable than Uber. This is going to be, buckle your seatbelts, because this is going to be a pretty wild ride if it hasn't been already.
April 14th. All right. What else are you looking at?
Just another news item from the other side of the world. Japan has started experiments with a central bank digital currency. And I think this is just worth paying attention to because the race for central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, is officially on. China is leading this. The US is not going nearly as quickly as these other countries. So Japan is most likely reacting to China's rapid pace in developing its own digital currency. But this is going to be something that we're going to see increasingly all over the world.
Well, I can definitely feel all this institutional, all this, corporate movement in the space. It's very exciting. Well, Digital asset marketplace Bakkt is launching its digital wallet app with companies like Starbucks among its roster of merchant partners. Bakkt was originally launched by Intercontinental Exchange in 2018, and in January announced it was becoming a publicly traded company through a SPAC merger with VPC Impact Acquisition Holdings. Joining us now is Bakkt CEO Gavin Michael. Welcome, Gavin.
Good morning. Great to be here. Thank you.
All right. Great to have you here. So tell us, Gavin, about this new digital wallet app.
Yeah, sure. So we launched our app last week, and this really is a game-changing digital wallet experience. We're bringing your digital assets, whether they be frequent flyer miles, gift cards, Bitcoin, and more, into one amazing, easy-to-use app, with the app giving customers the power to use their digital assets as they prefer, as they see fit.
So, Gavin, when Bakkt launched, it was seen as a way for institutions to get into crypto. I mean, it was regulated and what have you. Are you now more focused or completely focused on the retail market?
No, not at all. The business still spans everything from institutional to consumer. You know, we serve the institutional segment, as you said, with the regulated futures market and the custodial services that we provide. We work with large enterprises, small to medium businesses, and consumers across the whole spectrum of loyalty, rewards, and digital assets.
What percentage is institution versus retail?
We don't talk about how the business breaks down right now. Needless to say, we're strong in all of them, and all of them are there to power each other.
You mentioned the word game changing, which I think is a very important term, because to date, it's been pretty hard to get people to actually use Bitcoin for payments for various reasons. So, do you think why would somebody use Bitcoin for payments as opposed to, say, a credit card? I mean, Bitcoin does come with like an additional complications. You have to sort of be part of the system. How do you think you're going to get over that hurdle?
So I think when you look at what we do, our app really is about bringing together all forms of digital assets into one place. So our first feature to the consumer is that you can see all of your holdings in one app without having to go to siloed individual apps for each different type of asset class. With respect to the use of crypto, we think that we appeal to a new segment. We appeal to a segment that is looking for ways to get into the crypto space. And, we call them the crypto curious. We provide a very easy entry point by the use of any form of asset. You can trade into Bitcoin, you can see your holdings, and you can trade out very, very easily. Having done that, with the proceeds of the sale, we then make it easy to use within our ecosystem. So, for example, you could trade out of Bitcoin, you could take those proceeds, and you could reload your Starbucks card. So we're more about trying to create this ecosystem where our goal is to make all assets, including but not limited to crypto, as liquid as any other currency. And by aggregating gift cards alongside rewards programs and loyalty points, we're making sure that you're never leaving money on the table.
And it seems like, I don't know if you would call this a pivot, but it's definitely a new area of business. Back when it got into the options game, there was a lot of hype around it. I think it's fair to say that the options product probably didn't go quite as smoothly as anticipated. What would you say that Bakkt has learned from that experience?
Well, I think we're looking at how do we bring new product to market? What needs to happen in terms of the readiness of the ecosystem to be able to consume that product? And I think we've learned that with the launch of the Futures program, but also we've been in an early access program with the app for several months now, using that to learn our way with customers, what appeals, what works, where we think we have more to do. And that's given rise to the launch that we made last week.
So will options ever come back to Bakkt? Are you guys ever thinking about reinvigorating it?
It continues to trade today. We have good depth in the market, and we continue to bring on new players into that world on a fairly regular basis.
How much of a market? I mean, how many transactions have actually happened? Have any transactions happened at all? I mean, the futures market on Bitcoin is primarily dominated by overseas players like the likes of Deribit. So, and you have also even local players. So how many transactions have you guys had? I mean, do you have for open interest? How large is it?
So again, we don't disclose fully what those numbers look like. Needless to say, the market itself trades at a reasonable depth for a different product from those that you see from other options traders. What we offer is a physically delivered futures contract with a very regulated and transparent price discovery mechanism behind it.
Wait, are you also offering? Are you planning to offer perpetual futures? Some of the largest players offer perpetual futures, offer more leverage. Is that something that you're looking into doing at all?
Yeah, we continue to look at ways we can expand that market and additional products that we can add, building on the solid base that we have.
Any progress on that, or any idea if that's
progress
something that's
to come? I mean, announcements to come in the next several weeks. I mean, it's something to keep watching with the way in which we look at what happens with the asset classes that we support.
And then anything outside of Bitcoin, besides what else are you looking at? Anything in
we're looking to continue to bring on new digital assets into that market to make it available both through the institutional side and particularly through the consumer side as well.
Just to come back to the digital wallet for a moment, coming back to the hurdles on getting people to use Bitcoin for payment. I mean, one of the problems we have right now, I don't know if it's a problem, but, with the market booming and a lot of people are holding Bitcoin, right? And also Bitcoin, has a limited supply. So people see Bitcoin as a good long-term investment. What would motivate somebody to take that investment and spend it on Starbucks, for example, right? Because I think you have a lot of people who are just holding Bitcoin, and this has been one of the reasons why it hasn't been used for payments.
So I think when we look at the asset class more broadly, we see it as one where if there are people who are coming in and out of the market to really take advantage of the gains they're seeing, then what we provide them with is an easy way to be able to take the proceeds from those gains and realize it in cash and then use it in various ways throughout the ecosystem. We have the agreement with Starbucks. We have some incredible offers from Best Buy. You'll start to see more and more as come into the ecosystem as we continue to work with merchants. So I think when we look at it, we're appealing to a segment that is using it, maybe not necessarily as a wealth management, as a long-term hold, but able to and wanting to come in and out to spend the gains that they make on the short-term market. And we provide them with a very easy way to do that. Again, I keep coming back to our goal is to make the digital assets, including but not really limited to crypto, as liquid as any other currency.
Gavin, I wonder what is your bigger picture outlook on Bitcoin? We've seen Bitcoin on this incredible run up over the past 6 months. It's kind of stalling at 60,000 resistance. What's your outlook?
So I think we continue to see it trade strongly. And as you said, it really is around the fact that we have a number of people who are using it as an asset class where they're holding and looking to accrue the gains. I think we'll still see people come in and out on a reasonably frequent basis as the price volatility continues, both to take advantage of gains and buying opportunities as we see the market move.
Gavin, did Kelly Loeffler's Senate campaign hurt Bakkt's reputation in any way? Did it affect ultimately how people perceive it? I mean, I know it's been some distance in time, and she was in the Senate for a little bit, but did it have any effect, particularly with such a contentious campaign in 2020?
So Kelly was obviously the founding CEO of the company and did well to bring in a lot of the early talent and set the course and direction of the company. She's been gone for a while now, and the company itself continues to thrive and drive. And you saw through the announcement of our transaction in January with Victory Park Impact Holdings to go public sometime this quarter. And we're very excited by the partnership that we have with VPC and the work that we're doing to continue to take Bakkt as to the public markets.
And will there be any data when you do go public? Any data released as far as your customer size and the breakdown of consumer versus institutional customers?
So great question. Look, as we prepare to go public and as we prepare to work out what those key metrics are, you'll see a lot more coming out from us over the coming weeks and months.
Thanks.
All right, Gavin, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate your time and
Pleasure.
learning the latest developments at Bakkt. All right, that was
Thanks
Bakkt
very much
CEO
for the
Gavin
time.
Michael. Coming up, a look at the crypto markets with Texture Capital.
The Crypto Markets Update is presented by Grayscale, the world's largest digital currency asset manager.
The XPX Bitcoin price right now trading at $58,000. Bitcoin is just slightly down about 0.1%, and the ETX Ether price also 2,064, also down about 0.9% according to TradeBlock data. And joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is Texture Capital founder and CEO Richard Johnson. Welcome, Richard.
Hi, Christine. How are you?
Very well, thank you. All right, so we see Bitcoin stabilizing, just below 60,000, unable to breach that $60,000 resistance it seems over the past couple of weeks. What's your forecast for April?
I think it's going to stay where it is. I think it's a good thing. I don't think we need to get hung up about it being stuck in the 55 to 60 range. Let it stay there. Let it build some support. It's already gone over 60. The the forecasts are, and everyone in the space seems to think it's going to get to, JP Morgan came out with 115,000 price target, and BTIG just recently was talking about 90,000. The long-term path is upwards and to the right. And let's not stress out about it hanging in here. And to be honest, I think it's a good thing keeping its base, building a base here.
Good morning, Richard. We had a run up in ETH and the alts. Obviously, it's spring, but is it also alt season? Are we here now?
Yeah, you mentioned at the top of the hour, very good comments there. Certainly the Visa news last week was a really big deal. I think we got 15% or something move on ETH because of that. Also, it's the DeFi wave has been obviously contributing to Ethereum over the last year. And you look at the total value locked in DeFi, it's doubled over the last couple of months. There continues to be more innovation, and I think we're going to keep seeing continued strength in that space. You mentioned the alts. I'm particularly looking at some of the other smart contract type stable coins. I think they are trying to give ETH a run for its money. And one of the weaknesses of Ethereum is the high gas price, which can take a lot of the yield away from the yield farming. So you've got others coming into the space like Polkadot and Avalanche, which are proof of stake. They've been outperforming Ethereum over the year so far. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing in the alt market, kind of, what are the alternatives from some proof of stake smart contract coins, but also kind of piggybacking on the Ethereum run up.
And how are you playing Avalanche and Polkadot?
They're actually very difficult to trade because they're not on a lot of exchanges. So you need to get them to DEX to trade them. But I think they could, as they get onto more exchanges, I think you could get some more run up in those. But they're already had a very good run recently.
So we have Coinbase starting the public trading of its stock on April 14th, a pretty big event in the crypto world. How do you see that affecting Bitcoin's price or on the price of other cryptocurrencies?
That's really interesting. I think it's a huge move for the market. I don't think any of us 5 years ago. And just look at the valuation, $9 billion. That's what it was in private markets. If you compare it to Goldman Sachs, which has been around over 100 years, they have a market cap of 112 billion. And I wouldn't be surprised if the retail frenzy pushes Coinbase above that. And you look at the revenue side of things. Goldman's got a lot more revenue than Coinbase, 41 billion versus 1.3 billion. So a lot of value in Coinbase is really, I think, tied to the growth, and they have had some phenomenal growth over the last 12 months, but also the growth to the future. What's the effect going to be on Bitcoin? I think in a way, you talked a little about a Bitcoin ETF earlier on the show. Coin, which is their ticker, COIN, could almost be a better version of an ETF for the crypto space. You're getting public market exposure to crypto, but not just Bitcoin, but many of the other different assets, other different cryptos out there. I don't think it's going to take anything away from Bitcoin. I don't think people are going to move money out of Bitcoin into Coinbase, but I think you're going to see new money coming into the crypto space.
Richard, do you have a price target for Bitcoin?
I do. Price target for Bitcoin year end. I think it's going to continue to grow, and some of the numbers that we're hearing, like 90,000, 110,000, don't seem that unrealistic. What's changed with Bitcoin over the last year or so, when you saw kind of Elon Musk, Paul Tudor Jones, and so forth get into the space, is that like a lot of the downside risk has gone away, which makes it kind of an asymmetrical trade. And I think a lot of people in the space know that, and that's why people hodl. There's less supply, so the prices go up as demand chases supply.
Any other equity plays in the markets that you see benefiting from Coinbase's IPO?
Well, I think one of the things that was overlooked in the market last week was an announcement of a new hire over there. They hired Brett Redfern, who is the former Director of Trading and Markets at the SEC. Prior to that, he was head of market structure and regulatory affairs at JP Morgan. And I think that speaks a lot to their future. I mentioned the growth they've had, the massive run-up in growth. If they want to keep this kind of valuation, they're going to need to keep growing. And it seems to me that hiring a very senior person from the equities world, from trading, from the SEC, is pointing to a vision. And he has said this in his social media comments since then, that they're going to be looking more towards tokenized securities and building out a market for that for future growth.
Future looks certainly bright. Thanks for your update on the crypto markets, Richard.
Great. Thanks very much.
All right, that was Texture Capital founder and CEO Richard Johnson. Coming up, the hottest trends in decentralized finance, and checking in with CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day. Welcome back. Time to check in with CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, who is also the editor of CoinDesk's The State of Crypto newsletter. Hello there, Nick.
Hey, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Hope you had a good weekend. All right, so the IRS is seeking to name some Circle customers transacting over $20,000 in crypto. What can you tell us about this latest headline, Nick?
Yeah, so this seems to be kind of a continuation of the IRS's, it's been trying to figure out who's been transacting with crypto, and more importantly, who's not paying taxes on those transactions for quite a while. It sounds a lot like, the summons they sent to Coinbase a couple of years ago. Coinbase fought that for over a year, but ultimately had to send over customer information for a select, number of their customers. My guess is this is pretty similar, and the IRS is just trying to figure out, are people reporting their crypto taxes? And if not, it's going to try and, collect.
Nick, we also have former SEC Chairman Jay Clayton warning about Bitcoin regulation. What is the significance of this, or is this a significant statement?
I should phrase this carefully. I think the idea that there's going to be more regulations on the crypto space, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Jay Clayton being the one to say that this is coming to the Bitcoin, space. Yes, I can definitely see that. It's probably, Bitcoin's kind of in this weird place where it's not a security. Like the SEC, I don't think they've, ever published like an official rulemaking or anything saying it's not a security, but you have SEC officials saying Bitcoin is not a security. You have CFTC officials saying it's, a commodity. It's going to be, given the opportunity to run derivatives. So, for intensive purposes, Bitcoin is a commodity, but even there, it's kind of, it's only regulated as like a spot market for fraud and such by the CFTC. So I think what Jay Clayton's talking about here are, more specific, explicit rules around Bitcoin and the spot market, which is something that CFTC kind of sort of does, but not really, just because it is, primarily looking at the derivatives products, not the underlying market, in and of itself.
Nick, you and I have different takes on the GBTC post today, saying that they're fully committed to turning the GBTC into an ETF. Why do you see it as a big deal? The GBTC is like, it's one of the, I think it was the first Bitcoin fund in the US. My view is it's kind of like in a good position to be able to do this. Like, we've seen this coming. Grayscale posted a bunch of job postings earlier this year for ETF specialists, market makers and them. So we knew that this was coming. And I think the advantage Grayscale has here is they've got experience running a regulated Bitcoin product in the US, and that's kind of a leg up from a lot of the other ETF applicants. So, my guess is like they're in a pretty strong position to be able to convert it. I don't know for sure that they will be the first. Other companies who have filed for ETFs have, already begun the process of launching an ETF. But, if 2020 is a year of the ETF, which everyone seems to expect it will be, then, it seems to me that they're just, Grayscale is just in a pretty good position right now to be able to, convert their existing fund and immediately have like all those customers already as they launch. Does announcing it today or making that claim today in any way set a tone, or does that change anything?
That I'm not sure about. I think, timing-wise, we're still all waiting for Gary Gensler to be confirmed. So that's not happening for at least another week. If it, I think it's happening next week. I think it's just they're saying, hey, we're putting a stick down. We're going to say, we see that the premium is falling. We know that people are looking for an ETF. We're going to go ahead and turn this fund into an ETF, and that's just going to happen whenever all the regulators get together and say, okay, yeah, I think we're cool with this now. We're comfortable.
Great, Nick. Thank you so much for the update.
Thank you.
That was CoinDesk Managing Editor of Global Policy and Regulation, Nick Day. Don't forget to sign up for the State of Crypto newsletter on CoinDesk.com.
The CoinDesk Spotlight is brought to you by Nexo, the place to earn on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more. Our next guest is a partner at DeFi Alliance, an accelerator for decentralized finance startups, as well as co-founder of crypto data firm CoinMetrics. Please welcome us in joining Jacob Frenick. Welcome, Jacob.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me.
All right. So, Jacob, the DeFi Alliance, it provides resources and mentorship to various up-and-coming DeFi projects. So what are you incubating right now? What are the biggest needs of the DeFi space?
Yeah, so obviously NFTs are all the rage. And what's interesting, I think, is you're starting to see how DeFi and NFTs can interact. So new scaling solutions are coming out like Immutable X. And we're starting to see new protocols for lending and borrowing of NFTs, for fractionalization, for indexing. We're excited about Glass Protocol, which is a marketplace for videos. So videos are notoriously hard to store on decentralized file systems, and so they have an interesting solution to that. And then in the pure DeFi space, we're starting to see new derivative platforms, more tries on AMMs, again, more scaling solutions like Arbitrum, and then even fixed rate lending, interest rate derivatives. The space is it's not going away, even though NFTs are taking the spotlight right now.
We've talked to a couple of people about NFTs, obviously, and some of them say that the NFT bubble is about to pop. I wonder what your perspective is on that kind of thing.
Yeah, so look, it's always hard to separate adoption from some kind of mass, mania, but I tend to think we're kind of similar to, early 2017 with ICOs. You saw this crazy rush of activity, a lot of speculation, a lot of hype, a little bit of over extension on the market, but then, a correction. And then eventually, ICO 2.0 came out, and that was really DeFi. And I think we'll actually see something similar with NFTs, but I think that cycle is going to be a lot more condensed. So we're seeing a lot of hype, particularly in prices for large pieces, but under the surface, there is a ton of things being built. So I think there will be a correction, coming, fairly soon, perhaps. But I don't think that it's going to be quite as dramatic as 2018. And I think that very soon thereafter, you're going to start to see new marketplaces, cool new borrowing and lending platforms, the ability to move your assets into metaverses and VR and AR and games. So I think it'll happen similar to 2017, 2018, but I think it'll be on a much compressed time frame.
So, hi, Jacob. So I assume that part of what you're doing is assessing and analyzing different DeFi projects and trying to assess their potential. So I guess I was wondering if you could break it down for us exactly how you do that, right? Because right now you have this explosion of DeFi projects. A lot of them are, in very untested waters. A lot of them are basically throwing just a bunch of buzzwords into one sentence. How do you distinguish, what are the metrics that you use for distinguishing DeFi projects that really have potential or just kind of random projects that are just trying to ride the hype? Because I think ordinary investors have a lot of trouble with this. It's very hard to tell who's real and who's not. What are some of the metrics? Do you look at the founding teams? Do you look at other fundamentals? How do you distinguish?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I think it's hard for everyone, even professional investors. And so you're starting to see now what happened in late 2017 or mid 2017, where rounds are getting very, very heated very quickly. Teams are raising very fast with little product to show, and so it's still early. But there's a little bit of a concern that investors, I think even professional ones, might get burned. And my partner Chow was tweeting about this recently. But look, it's not that different from looking at early stage traditional ventures. So you look at the team. In the case of crypto, you look at their thesis, you look at whether they've been audited, you hopefully have someone who can look into the code. You generally look at the idea, you look at how the team presents the idea. In terms of metrics, it's kind of hard. I mean, some of these projects are raising before they have any kind of TVL, any kind of volume or activity. You look at who else is investing, especially as timeframes become compressed and these deals close faster and faster. You have to kind of adjust with the times, and unfortunately, that means doing less of the diligence that you would normally do.
Jacob, doesn't the DeFi ethos go against the idea of incubators? Why should a DeFi project go into an incubator?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think the first way to think about it is the difference between an incubator and an accelerator. So some incubators, really work closely with the teams. They bring them on board. They might even place hires, work on product. We're really an accelerator that's primarily focused on three things. So one is liquidity, second is regulatory support, and the third is recruiting and growth. And so all of these DeFi projects, whether you're a borrowing and lending platform, an AMM, an index play or something, the majority of them they need liquidity. And that is always going to be a mix of retail liquidity, so folks that are either providing passive liquidity or actively making markets on these platforms, or it's going to be a mix of institutional, professional market makers and liquidity providers. And we work with over 40 of them that are part of the DeFi Alliance, which is our kind of industry association. And we really serve as a way to provide a formal structure to bring, new DeFi projects, have their founders coordinate and meet with professional market makers and traders to really learn how to tweak their product and how to onboard professional, market makers and liquidity. So yes, these projects are decentralized, but they all need liquidity, and that liquidity can come from all over the world and from retail, from institutions.
All right. Thank you, Jacob, so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate your time.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Right, that was DeFi Alliance partner and CoinMetrics co-founder and COO Jacob Frenick. That's it for First Mover. Coming up tomorrow is special guest Mark Chandler, Chief Marketing Strategist at Bannockburn Global Forex. Thank you, Emily Parker, our CoinDesk Managing Director of International Content, and Lawrence Lewitinn, Managing Editor of Global Capital Markets. I'm your host, Christine Lee. I'll be back live at 3 p.m. with all about Bitcoin. Coming up at noon is The Hash. You're watching CoinDesk TV.